Hi, this is Luann Worley with Rockin Book Reviews, and I'm so happy to be here today with Steve Altier. Steve, tell us a little bit about your life growing up, how many siblings you have, and a couple of events in your life that made you the person you are today.
Oh gosh, do we really want to go there? No.
Yes.
Um, so I grew up in a very small town in Pennsylvania called Mill Hall. It's right in the middle of the state. There's really nothing there but a small town of about 500 people. I have one brother who passed away years ago. He lived in California, and my mom and dad are both still alive. But growing up as a kid was different for me because when most kids were going to the playground, my playground was across the street, which was an old abandoned axe factory. So me and my friends, the few that lived close by, we would go over there and search and just find things and fish and camp and explore and experience weird things that we couldn't explain. But it was a lot of fun. That was kind of my childhood, just a lot of outdoor stuff in the summer.
What was your favorite activities?
I used to enjoy fishing a lot. I really did. We moved down to Florida a long time ago, and it's just not the same. I like freshwater fishing out in the streams, and it's something I haven't done in a long time. My wife's not really into it, so it's fine. I'll do it again one day.
That's a lot of couples are that way. I like anything outdoors, and my husband does too, so that makes it nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Okay, you stated you grew up in an old dam keeper's house. Explain that.
I got a picture here. Can you see this?
Oh, yeah.
So this house right up here was the house I grew up in.
Huh.
So this was
Wow.
the old dam and the old axe factory that was across the street.
So it really is right there with the dam.
Yes. I grew up in 1969. Okay, back up just a little bit, but the dam, there was an old flood in the late 50s sometime. It destroyed the dam and took out most of the axe factory. So in 1969, my parents bought the place, and we owned everything to the water's edge, it said. So we explored and had a lot of fun, and we used to fish, camp, hike up in the mountains. It was right in the middle of the valley. So there wasn't a whole lot to do there except just be boys, be outside.
That's interesting. Isn't most of Pennsylvania green?
Yeah, most of it is.
But it wasn't real green where you live?
Well, that picture was taken in the winter. I got that picture from the Pennsylvania Historical Society.
Oh, okay.
That was taken in 1904. Whenever the dam was in the axe factory was still in there, they would go up in the mountains, cut the logs, float them down to the dam, and cut them up and to make the handles. They would get the steel from Pittsburgh and bring it over to make the axes. But yeah, at the very bottom of this picture, you can see it's the old axe factory in Mill Hall.
Yeah.
And I'll show you
Fascinating.
a picture. I don't know if you can see this or not, but
Oh, that looks like the Pennsylvania I know. Okay.
that's a picture of me with my books up along Lizardville Road.
Up a little higher. There you go.
But
okay, that's great. Okay, you stated you enjoyed bowling, amusement parks, traveling, and more. How much time do you get to spend doing those things?
my wife and I are on a Tuesday night mixed league for bowling. So we enjoy bowling during the winter months. It runs about 36 weeks. We take the summer off to spend more time focusing on doing some traveling. Her daughter lives in St. Louis, so we go up to St. Louis a lot. And traveling more up until 2019, 2020, when the world kind of came to an end. But we're planning another trip right now, so that's in the works, and another vacation, because it's one of the things she told me recently was, it seems like we're always doing stuff on a book tour or on, visiting Comic Cons and selling your books there. When are we going on a real vacation? We started working on that again. We kind of got away from that, just getting back into the swing of things. Glad to see the world's getting back on its feet. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. You said among everything, your favorite thing is amusement parks. Why?
Oh, when I was a lot younger, yeah, I used to love the rides, and I'm 30 minutes away from Busch Gardens.
Oh,
So, and here in Florida, like Busch Gardens, if you go buy a 1 day pass, they'll convert that into a whole year pass if you're a Florida resident.
oh, that's wonderful.
Oh yeah, I mean, so we would go over all the time. Sometimes they'd have shows in the evening, like they'd bring in some music acts. We'd just show up and go watch the show and then leave. Some days we'd go to ride, but as I've gotten older, um, the rides don't agree with me like they used to.
It's so sad. I used to could ride anything and never get sick, and now I can't even look at them without getting sick.
And I think the rides have changed a lot too, because they could do a lot of,
Oh
loop
yeah,
and stuff.
twirling and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're about an hour and 10 minutes away from Disney World as well, so it's just we're right in the
Oh
middle of
wow, that sounds like a perfect place to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, it's like my wife took me back up to St. Louis 10 years ago, and I want to show you what it's like at Six Flags. And after we were left, she says, I'm a little disappointed. After being in Florida, I'm spoiled. Those are real theme parks. This is not what it used to be.
Where did you go traveling the most?
I spent 3 years living in the Philippines. That
Oh,
was
what part?
adventures. I was in Angeles City. I was stationed at Clark Air Base after high school. And then when I came back, I came here to Florida, and I was stationed at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. And after that, I couldn't leave. I just loved the heat and the sunshine. I was hooked, had to get out when my time was up. But our best vacation that we did was in Europe. We were very blessed to be there in Italy for a couple weeks. We started in Rome. We were there like for 5 days. Then we ventured up to Florence, went out on the coast to Cinque Terre. We went over to a place called Lucca and Pisa, and then we finished our venture in, what was that, Venice, and we went out to Murano Island, which was a big mistake because my wife really loves the blown glass, and that was expensive.
Oh no, I do. I'm with her. I love blown glass.
Happy wife, happy life. So get what you want, dear.
A little bit expensive, huh?
Yes, it was. But no, we loved Italy. I'd love to go back. We've been talking about a trip, flying back into Venice this time, instead of going to Rome, venturing across to Milan, and then on up into Switzerland, and then finish up in Paris. That's like
What's your fascination with travel? Why do you enjoy it so much?
really good question. Like when we were in Rome, the history, to see, to walk through the ancient ruins of Rome. Um, I got goosebumps. I'm getting them right now. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. But to walk where some of the greatest people of our time, of the human race, was just amazes me, and to see how other cultures live. Growing up in a small town where I really didn't see much, everything was just so bland, and to get up and move out of there, and that's partly why I joined the military, was for adventure. But living 3 years in the Philippines and then going overseas to Europe, and I ventured up to Alaska once. They're just phenomenal. I love to explore and travel. I guess that goes back to when I was a kid, exploring the old axe factory. What can I find new today? And
I'm with you on that. I love exploring, and my big activity when I was growing up was just finding new places and finding new insects and stuff, watching them battle and so forth. In fact, I used to put them together in a bottle. Scorpions, I'd put them together in a bottle and watch them fight. So
oh wow, wow.
that sounds pretty sadistic, doesn't it?
I've done some crazy things too. We all have.
I'm not that way anymore. I stay away from bugs. But yeah, I love. We lived in the Philippines 2 years, and I loved it.
Where were you? Where were you?
Palawan and
Okay.
Manila area and above.
Yeah, I used to venture down to Manila from time to time. Let me see. I remember the Ali Mall and stuff there. There was like an inside amusement park close by, and I mean there was a lot of just nice adventure places for us.
It makes you, I don't know, I figure everybody should live among people in third world countries and stuff, because it would make you appreciate your country so much more.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I never appreciated it until I went over there.
That's
And
same here. We don't know poverty like those people know poverty. And yet there's happy people, they're accepting people, and they're just, they're wholesome. But yet what they have to live in is so sad. And we just don't appreciate the conveniences and the food and everything we have here in the United States. And I wish that all people complaining about our country would go live among these other countries with their situations.
it is an eye-opening experience. It really is. I remember a time me and a few buddies from the base, we were out venturing around, and there was a family that we ran into, a small town called Porak. It was in Pampanga village. And the family's like, they invited us to stay there. And they gave us it was just like a little bedroll. And like, there you go, this is your bed. And everybody slept in the same room, and it was 90 degrees outside. And you're like,
Oh, yeah. And they usually build their homes through, after the monsoon, they go gathered up all the things that's blown over, and that's what their homes are.
yeah. And it was a great 3 years. It really was. Really.
We enjoyed our years there. Now, your future aspiration to experience is what? Where to go to and why?
Well, right now I guess you're talking about travel.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
Sorry about that.
we're planning a trip to Hawaii. It's someplace neither one of us have been. I really want to go there and check it out, even though I have plenty of beaches here in Florida, but we don't have volcanoes here. And I would love to go kind of explore around one of them, take that in. But like I said, we want to get to France. That's on our bucket list. I want to go to London. I haven't been there yet. I really want to go to Ireland, Australia. Just so many places in so little time. But mainly just for the rich history. I just love to see the other cultures and how other people live. Even when we were in Europe, it was really different to see how people live. I mean, you don't realize that you buy a can of soda. When we were in Italy, we'd buy a can of Pepsi, and it'd be like €3, which is like $3.50 for one 12-ounce can of Pepsi. And we take things for granted here. And most people there live in apartments and have these small cars that are just banged up on the front and back because they're parked right on top of each other pretty much. And we take everything for granted here, and it's just hustle bustle and kind of very laid back in many ways too. The history and the culture that people have, I love it.
That's great. Okay, all of your life you wanted to be a writer. How young did this aspiration begin?
I can't really remember how old I was. All I know is when television was on, I always wanted to be a journalist, a TV reporter, or even someone who wrote articles for the newspaper or for the magazines and travel around the world, doing the stories, getting them back to the United States. It was just a fascination of mine. I used to jot all kind of notes, and when my mom and my parents moved down to Florida, they, for some reason, lost all my little journals, but I don't know what happened to them. But I really wanted to become a writer more in the 70s. I took some journalism courses, but when I read it, Stephen King came up with a book called Carrie, and it was so fascinating. And that's really when I wanted to be, the journalist. I really wanted to be a writer, someone who brought stories to life. But then life sometimes gets in the way, and I don't regret any decisions that I had, but after high school, I decided to do some traveling. I went overseas, like I had mentioned, and got married, raised a family. And finally, after my youngest daughter graduated recently, and I got back into doing some writing when the kids became teenagers and started doing their own thing and didn't really need dad as much, I started following my dream again and writing. And I've been writing about 12 years now, pretty much permanently writing. And I've got 7 books on the market, and I've got a new one. 2 more I'm currently working on.
Okay, let's talk about your new book, The Ghost Hunter. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, The Ghost Hunter was an inspiration I got, and I don't want to give any spoilers. So if you don't like spoilers, then don't listen
Right.
to this
No.
part. Tune back in about 2 minutes. No, but I was listening. I like rock and roll music, and I was listening to a group called The Used, and they had a song called "The Bird and the Worm." And it's hard to in this rock and roll song. It's really hard to tell the lyrics except for the worm's trying to get away from the bird. And it got me to thinking, what can I write about and incorporate a bird and a worm? So I've got this little boy. He's about 10 years old. He's sitting there on his porch watching, and the book opens with a devastating scene where this kid's watching this battle for life and death, and his flesh being ripped off, and someone's trying to hide in the grass. So, spoiler alert, it is a bird eating a worm. So, fast forward a little bit, this boy is 16 years old. He's a brainiac. He is just completing high school and graduating, facing his worst fears. He's going to college, and at the age of 16. And he's always felt like the worm, always being picked on, always being devoured by the bully. So he's awkward, he's shy. When he gets to college, he wants to change things in his life, and he wants to be part of the popular crowd. It's a chance to start over in life. So he gets to college, and the first thing there, he steps out and he sees a bunch of boys wearing black shirts. He goes, oh no, they've got to be the campus bullies. And so he's walking out his dorm one day with another young boy, and he sees the kids, and they kind of come off the wall, and they start following him. And he runs and hides in the library, trying to get away from them. And he realizes that they're not chasing him at all. And he sees them another time, and he starts like, oh no, he panics again. These guys are going to get me. But he runs into the library where he has a ghostly encounter. And it's the boys who wear black that came to his rescue. And I'm sorry, the guy's name is Gerald Dewpickle. So see, part of his problem, Dewpickle, picklehead, green pickle, everybody picks on the pickle boy. So, and he's heard all those jokes, but he wakes up, he's in the library laying on the floor, and it's the kids who wear black, and they realize he's a ghost magnet. He attracts the ghost, and these guys are ghost hunters. So they incorporate Gerald onto their team. They talk him into it, and he becomes that, finally what he feels like, he's becoming the bird. He's the popular kid that everybody wants to be with, everybody wants to hang out with. And it's really just a good story. They go on several ghost hunts. They draw out some ghosts a lot of times, and a few Easter eggs in there that I hide that point to some of my other books. I like to do that thing, but one of my big things is what happens when Gerald's normal becomes paranormal. What's his world going to be like? And do this, and he decides that he doesn't want to just be a ghost hunter. He wants to help the ghost, wants to help put them back where they really need to be. So Gerald realizes real quick, not all the spirits want his help. So that's where it's kind of hairy down the stretch. But it's a good fun read. It recently took an honorable mention for young adult fiction from the Purple Dragonfly Book Awards, which is sponsored by Story Monsters Inc. magazine.
And that's a real credible company.
Yeah, one of my other books won a first place award from them several years ago.
That's fantastic, because that's a very credible, receive an award from. So is this a standalone, or is it a part of a series?
This is a standalone story. It is a spin-off of one of my books called The Lizardville Ghost Stories, where I grew up. Originally, I wrote a book called Lizardville, the Ghost Story. It had such an overwhelming response that I was asked to do a second book. I did. I came up with Jimmy's Curse to finish the series. In that second book, there was boys are in the library. They are looking at books, trying to figure out how to put ghosts back where they belong. They find a couple of books written by a young author named Gerald Dewpickle. The Ghost Hunter is Gerald Dewpickle's story, and how he became a ghost hunter and wrote a few books about it. So it is a little bit of a spinoff to that. It's in the same part of the country, same area, and that's really kind of what I call interconnecting books.
Right.
But you could read it all by itself. If you really enjoy that, you'd probably want to go back and read the Lizardville Ghost Stories. I know in one scene, one of the Easter eggs I mentioned, the one scene, the boys are coming into a small town, and Gerald looks over and goes, "What a funny name for a town, Lizardville."
Calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
So you are really involved in community and charities. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I have done some work for the St. Joseph's Children's Hospital. We do a Christmas drive every year, trying to get Christmas presents. Sometimes it's done in July. We're doing Christmas in July, trying to get toys and things for the kids that are in the hospital that, are facing some difficult times. Also, probably only a few miles from my house, was a place called the Kids Place, where moms and children can go from abused families, and they can find refuge here. So we go there. We organized a carnival one year. I try to collect toys and things that they need. Sometimes it's clothing for back to schools, backpacks, and all that. We just try to do some good fundraisers for them. I also I have 4 cats myself. One of them's been circling around my feet. That's why if I'm looking down or reaching down, I'm petting a cat because they want my attention. But I've done some animal rescue with cats. I work with the Humane Society from that. We did foster for a while, but the problem with fostering cats was I want to keep them all. At one time, I had 6 in my house, and I still have 4 of them.
That is very commendable.
Oh, well, thank
I
you.
commend you for your involvement.
At all of my events, I always have a little plaque that I put out on my table. It says, "Be kind to animals." I mean, they just want love. They don't want anything more.
Right.
And I've even done several. We try to do once a year where we do like a food drive, or get things that the animal shelters need. Try to collect some stuff for them.
Okay, so what is your next big project coming up? You said you're working on a couple other books.
Well, I'm finishing up right now. I do a middle grade chapter series called the Gabby and Maddox Adventure Series. A few years ago, we went to Niagara Falls. That was in 2019, right before the world kind of came to an end. Gabby and Maddox are siblings, and I always do some sort of, I take notes when we travel. I did a book called Adventures in Italy with them. This one is going to be called Over the Falls with Gabby and Maddox. It's good, wholesome stories. They teach values, respect, dignity, not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal. It's an adventure series.
That is awesome.
And this is another one of those.
Oh, how fun.
And that's when I was at a side note, when I was at Barnes and Noble doing a book signing for this book, I had a couple of young boys, probably 12, 13, come up. They looked at my book and like, "Dude, that's for babies. What do you got for us?" So it was this exact same week I was talking with a friend from Pennsylvania, and where we grew up, it was Mill Hall, but we had a nickname for it. It was called Lizardville. And he said to me, "How many people can say they grew up in Lizardville?" And the light came on. I'm like, you know what? I've got to write my childhood stories. We'll spice it up with some ghost stuff in it. And, that's when I started writing, more for the young adults. And I still do, I'll do one middle grade chapter book, then I go back and do another young adult. But I'm putting the finishing touches on Over the Falls with Gabby and Maddox. Should be out a little bit later this year. Right now, we're still in the editing process with that, waiting for another round to come back to me and get that finished up. Some of the artwork is fantastic. We got a new artist this time we're working with, so that's great. And then I'm going to work on another spin-off book from the Lizardville story. It's called Old Man Smithers. In the Lizardville books that I did, there's an crotchety old man. He doesn't want the boys hanging out on his property. He's got a little cottage down by the river, and every time the boys come around, he chases them off. And he's got a gun that he fires up in the air, and he just doesn't like the kids. So I want to explain why he doesn't like the kids. I want to tell Old Man Smithers' story. And yes, there will be a lot of mystery and suspense. Not overly scary. I just try to keep people guessing and on the edge of their seat.
How fun. That sounds like a fun story. Well, maybe we can meet again on your children's books.
Well, I'd love to do that.
And expand on those. That would be great. Okay, is there any final comments you'd like to make before we go?
I mean, this has been a lot of fun, so thank you.
I totally enjoyed it.
On the show.
You're a delight to talk with.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, And we hope that all of you out there will explore the universe through books. Goodbye now. Okay.